Can you go back to the picture of the heart for me?
Sure.
So, what I'm seeing here, or at least what I think I'm seeing, is the heart being encapsulated with this fat. Talk about the anatomy specifically. Is that penetrating into the heart? Is it just around the heart? And then beyond the physical, what are the chemical changes that are happening there?
God, you're good. So, and by the way, Jesse and I he never comes to me and say, give me some juicy questions. This man's coming up with this from his own cerebral cortex. That's why you're listening to Jesse. That's why I listen to
Thank
him.
you.
So what's happening is on the outside of that heart are the coronary arteries. And maybe I can show a picture, of that right here is a good picture. This is one of the coronary arteries called the left anterior descending. It's also called the widowmaker. A lot of people know it by that term because it's an ominous name. It's a widowmaker because it makes humans widows, women. It kills males first because they put on more of this heart fat and visceral fat than females until menopause. So heads up, ladies, you get a little bit of a respite, a little if you will, biological pass until you hit menopause, and then you put it on faster. You ready? Faster than men do. Your threat starts increasing exponentially faster. So the arteries are on the outside of that heart, and this is somebody in their 20s, somebody in their 30s. Now you can see the dramatic accumulation of that fat around the artery. And then this is somebody in their 50s who died from a heart attack. And this person's literally their entire surface is now encased in this fat. And we'll say, if you're listening today and you're like in your 50s or 60s, so, well, I'm good. Man, look at me, man. I'm jacked. I'm fit. Guess what? How many 50-year-olds have come to me and didn't look like this? Nobody. Nobody. Every 50-year-old that's come to me has had this amount of fat around the heart. They just didn't know it. And they're shaking like leaves and they break down and cry. And some of them even have passed out, literally fainted from the awareness of this disease. So the anatomy is this stuff is on the outside where your coronary arteries are. Those are your arteries for your heart, where the heart disease begins. And so what's happening is the characteristic of this fat is this isn't like omega-3 rich nutrient beneficial fat from this beautiful buffalo. This is inflammatory caustic disease from your poor living as a human being that's very different from fat that's nutritious on wild animals like game meat. This is super. By the way, wild animals don't have this. They have a teeny little bit of it, but humans get this. Wild animals are more like a small amount on their heart compared to, unless you're hunting deer, they get into what? Human crops and start eating monocrops like corn and carbohydrates and grain. Then they start moving more down towards this. But deep, when they don't have access to it, more hearts more like that. So when we started researching chronic disease for the National Science Foundation, we look for what happens in the wild and their diet and their lifestyle because they have less of that fat. So besides that inflammation, all that inflammatory fat, it's attacking the arteries on the outside. It also attacks the myocardium. And so on this right there is about where the left anterior descending artery is, right at that thing. And look at all that fat. It accumulates in the right coronary artery. See that? Fat there, and fat there and fat there. That's exactly what goes on. So the more of this fat, the more disease in those arteries. So the arteries that don't have it, like a little bit offshoot, without that fat, there's no disease in it. It's that clear. And so it doesn't get any more clear than this little mantra here. No heart fat, no heart attack. This needs to be on every billboard around America. Billboards, commercials. It needs to be the new mantra for humans to understand you can't have a heart attack without this. Cholesterol, you can't say that. There are plenty of people with low cholesterol dropping dead with heart attacks, and plenty of people with high cholesterol that never get heart disease. But there's not a single person in the world or in the history of the world that's ever had a heart attack and didn't have this heart fat. So it's that kind of clarity we need. And if you're listening today and you're ignoring this clarity, let me sum it up this way. I can't help you. There's something else wrong with you. It's that clear. I'm just begging you not to be that person that ignores that kind of clarity and try to turn yourself around. Find out about that heart fat. Get rid of it.
Okay, I need a bit of clarity on a piece of this when it has to do with the heart. So we know that the fat, as we're building visceral fat and fat in these different areas of the body that are dangerous, we're getting the fat around the heart. Because the heart is made of muscle itself, and one of the layers of the vessels is actually smooth muscle. And part of this story is the myosteatosis, where our muscle becomes marbled. Do we also have an attack within the vessel and then within the heart muscle itself?
100%. God, you need to be a researcher. 100% accurate. I don't oftentimes talk about it because the smooth muscle, the muscle portion of that, those arteries and veins, and by the way, the capillaries are so small that they don't lend themselves. We can't even see it on an MRI. So I don't have images of it. We'd have to go to a microscope. And maybe the next time I come on with Jesse Chappus with those kind of questions, I will have histological slides of showing exactly that. So the reason why a disease also forms in those walls is of those arteries, capillaries, and veins is it's the largest portion of the wall of the artery of a capillary, a vein, and an artery is the muscle. And so the muscle, just like muscles in your arms and your legs and muscles around your rectum, your anus, start getting attacked with this fat, and then you can't get control of your stool anymore and you're in diapers, is because you've ignored this accumulation of fat within your muscle and you've ignored the accumulation of fat within your coronary arteries muscles. And that fat attacks not only the muscle but the myocardium. And so what we're also finding out is this inflammatory fat, which releases 24 hours a day, every second, it's releasing cytokines, inflammatory molecules that perturb and cause inflammation of a good, healthy tissue all over the body. It's causing through direct extension, inflammation in the myocardium, in the surface of the heart. So we return back to this healthier picture here. All that muscle tissue, when you got it bathed in that, is now getting inflamed, and the heart doesn't do as well. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're walking up a single flight of stairs and you're short of breath, let me just tell you this. It's not because you're deconditioned. It's not because you don't exercise. I'm not saying that's not a problem. You're short of breath because your daggone heart is like this and it can't work as well. And so you're just not delivering the oxygen to the boxcars because you got this enormous collection of fat squeezing, constricting, strangulating your heart. And you don't even know about it because your doctors don't even know about it. But that's what's going on. So one of the new things we're seeing exploding all over is AFib, atrial fibrillation, this cardiac dysrhythmia, an unnatural, very dangerous dysrhythmia that's very inefficient, that your heart, instead of beating like this, your heart beats like kind of like this. The atria is beating incorrectly. And if it goes to VFib, you're a dead man. But the atria causes this fibrillation, and it's like just reduces you into a super inefficient cardiac mode. Now your heart is not squeezing as much. And let me tell you about my world in the ER. You're 68, you're 58, you're 92, and you walk in with AFib and you got rapid ventricular response. You got this very strange rhythm going on. And you know what you come in talking about? Weird stuff. Because suddenly we just turned you into like a moron. We just called altered mental status. We've changed how your brain literally works in seconds from that dangerous rhythm that you've now deteriorated with. But, you know, we're physicians and we can reach into our little magic bag of drugs and temporarily correct that. And within seconds, I would turn them around. Instead of grandpa or dad saying weird things, now he or she starts saying appropriate things just from medicine. But do you think that medicine has solved that problem that caused it? No. It's a temporary treatment. The problem is that inflammatory fat that gets ignored. And I'm sorry, I was that physician who didn't know about it. All the thousands of people that came in with AFib with me, and I just reached in and gave a little calcium channel blocker, a little IV cortisone, and magically made their heart beat a little bit better. Never ever addressed the underlying cause and triples their risk and maybe even higher risk for stroke, which can completely render you almost brain dead and kill you. So you want to address this problem. You want to reverse this thing. And it hit home with me when one of my very good friends from the Army, who's not even 40, he's 38, you know, just about a month and a half ago, called me up at night and said, I don't feel good. I'm lightheaded. My heart is racing. And look at my Apple Watch. It has this crazy rhythm. And he sent it to me and he was in AFib. I said, okay, here's your choices. You either get right now in your car and go to the ER with your wife driving you, or I'm calling an ambulance. And so he went in the ER. He ended up getting discharged later after they got control of his medicines. And he's been all over the place, Mayo and everything. But he found out none of the doctors ever talked to him about heart fat. And I'm getting a scan for him because he's my friend at research facility. And in fact, he's coming to me in 2 days for the results of a scan. But if you got AFib and you're listening, or you have a friend that has AFib, or you got a loved one who does, get them to get their heart MRI scan and see all that fat around their heart. Guaranteed, guaranteed, guaranteed. They got all this fat around their heart, and that's what's causing it.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch the full episode. I'll see you over there.
I'm talking to you right now. If you got a chronic disease and you're not getting rid of your visceral fat, stop complaining. Don't wait for your doctor to tell you to do this because it's literally kept out of medical school. Just get rid of it.